What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish this?
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith.
I had a chance to learn life, not just through the eyes of America, but through the eyes of the world.
The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledged it whatsoever.
It's difficult for them to make a choice when their role models are big bankrolls, big houses, big cars, nice fine clothes, power, position, and things of this such. So when they grow up with these role models, this has a tendency to shun or denigrate the journey to manhood. It throws a curve for any young individual who is searching for manhood, because these things will cloud their judgment.
America has given the Negro people a bad sex, a sex which has come back marked insufficient funds.
All of the situations that society says we should do, we should go to school and go to college. Well, I'm not saying that there is anything against college, but I am saying that college was not for me. The streets graced me with wisdom and knowledge. I grew up in the streets of Chicago. My dad and mama were divorced when I was 9 or 10 years old. My mother married a straight up street hustler. So my whole life was on the street. I was free at 9, 10 years old. I never became a part of the systematic corporate sharecropping. And most of our children think that, okay, you get a good job, you get this, and that's life. But then you die. And most of them have no purpose.
We just have a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas that he has confirmed President Kennedy is dead.
We have great role models. Dr. King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela. I mean, there's so many historians, and even those who are alive today. Even our president, just the fact that he became president, it's a testament that you can do anything. Once our children know that, once they are out there in the world, they can see the opportunities. We cannot allow things and circumstances of our community and our surroundings to impair us. They are there basically to make you strong, to realize that this is not what I want.
When a man has done what he considers to be his duty to his people in his country, he can rest in peace.
There are so many great leaders that we as young men can look up to as fathers and say, that was a dynamic journey to manhood. We can see the examples. We can also see the examples of those who have failed or who did not necessarily achieve what they needed to achieve, but they did not necessarily fail. What they did was provide for us a sight to see that we don't want. Something that we can say, hey, I don't want to do that.
My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother. Shoot them for what? They never call me nigga.
You can work here and you can work for a whole year. We'll give you a whole week off, maybe 2. Then you can go to the island somewhere and enjoy yourself, but just come on back so we can keep you here again. Then we're going to keep you. We'll do that for you every year till you're 65 or 70 years old. Then we'll let you go enjoy your life. Well, to me, you're not promised to get to be 60 or 75. You're not promised to live any additional days. To me, the best that life has to offer is right now, this minute. So we must find the thing that we love to do, that we would do for free, and figure out a way in spending that time with ourselves to learn how to make it pay us so that we can eat.
But when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson.
People have a misconception of what manhood is. Manhood is a mentality, an understanding of being in control and in charge of one's destiny and life. These children are being moved by society and everything else that is quote unquote considered of value, when the very essence of manhood is the most valuable thing that any young man can ever have. That is the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience, and of course the integrity of being a man.
The day dawns, The morning star is bright upon the horizon. The iron gate of our prison stands half open.
Our young men are being diverted by television. They're being diverted by society. They're being diverted by the church. They're being diverted by the politicians. They are being lied to and screwed over by basically every entity in this faction, in this community, in this world, this genre that we live in, this cesspool.
Now the whites in Georgia fight Negroes with a smile, whereas they used to fight them with a growl. And we don't think that it is any worse.
When the very people who are supposed to be our leaders are destroying this planet. When the very essence of who are supposed to be teaching us right and wrong are murdering this planet by raping her for the last 100 years, taking that same poison that they take out of the earth and put it in the air. Accident. Billions of gallons of oil in the Gulf. Accident. Fukushima over there, the radiation leak. These are all accidents. Now, we cannot blame our current global condition anymore on ignorance, because we know better. We have to step up and do something. I consequently created the Reverend Point Blank because nobody wants to tell the truth. And the Reverend Point Blank simply says things that everybody want to say. They're just afraid to say it because they don't want to lose their power. They don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose their house. They don't want to lose their relationship. So they deal with the rhetoric. They deal with the deception, and they kindly slide over it. So when I speak of it, I'm rocking the boat. I'm very unpopular. Well, consequently, every one of our great historians, they did things that other people were not willing to do. They spoke out when other people were not willing to speak. They stepped forward when other people were not willing to step forward, and they died for that right. And Martin Luther King said, if a man hadn't found something he would die for, he's not fit to live.
1 gallon rush from the north will fling it wide open, while 4 millions of our brothers and sisters shall march out into liberty.
I'm working on a book called If You're Not Living, You're Dying. And that's a fact. If you are blessed to have this day should be moved towards planting something that if you are here tomorrow, you will eat the fruit of it. And the earth is so clear about teaching us, because if you put an apple seed in the ground is good and the weather's right, you get a whole tree of apples. So thus your words and your deeds, they're your seeds. The hearts of people is the ground, what's in their head is the weather. But you gotta know what you want to grow, and you can't yell at a tree because it's a cactus tree. It's a cactus when you got it, it's a cactus when you planted it, it's gonna be a cactus when it grows. And you cannot get apples from an orange tree. That just doesn't happen. So the word that says you reap what you sow is such a dynamic thing. I think they use karma now, but yeah, whatever you do comes back, because whatever you plant grows. A journey to manhood begins with life. Just that, a journey. We can't teach kids to be men. They have to go through it. We can teach them foundations of right and wrong. And we cannot blame the fathers for not being there. Many of the fathers who have become great in our history were not there with their kids. So we have to say that it's a choice that each of us make every day in every situation. And quite frankly, when you make a choice, and you will pay for that choice. And you will.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time